Good morning, everybody. Thanks to the Magna team. Thanks, Melissa. This is a big honor for me. This, of course, is part of this Magna seminar series. And today I want to talk a little bit about Industry 4.0, Society 5.0. What's the bridge between those two topics? And at the end, we will also talk about what you can actually do to participate in this movement and add value to our company throughout this. So we're going to have 3 5-minute blocks, and at the end, plenty of time for questions. I'm always very much excited about the questions because that's really where the magic happens. So first of all, Industry 4.0. I'm not going to go through the technology specifically or the 4 evolutionary steps. I will explain what Industry 4.0 is for me, how I do interpret it now after having studied it for 5 to 6 years. For me, it's really about the digitization of manufacturing, right? We need to go through our business processes between manufacturing, logistics, the design and of course, the engineering part of it, and at the end, the quality management, which is so crucial to our customers. As Magna, of course, we are a manufacturing juggernaut. And of course, Industry 4.0 is important to us because it is a radical paradigm shift in what we do and how we manufacture. Over the last 10 years, with the automation equipment that we have in the plants, we have found out that the data those equipments generate while producing the parts is actually very valuable, and we can find interesting insights that can enhance the product, the process, and of course, the interaction with the people that are on the assembly lines, right? So it's really all about making better decisions based on data, and specifically data that has gone through algorithms, that has gone through analytics and been presented to us in the form of information and knowledge. This is my take on Industry 4.0. Now let's go to the next slide and see what are we actually doing in Magna with this, right? Back then in 2014, a company called Deloitte, they are one of the biggest consulting companies. They came up with this idea of the 3 loops, right? And how Industry 4.0 really is a 3-loop process, and how it's really only completed if you make the last step, which I'm going to explain in a second. So the first step really is to collect the data in a transparent manner. So you need to get the connection from the physical world, from our plants, our machines, to the digital world. Most of our equipment that we use in Magna today is already automated. So there is digital systems, they have PLC, they have logic, and we can connect to those through, of course, the connections that IT has made available for us. So over the last 4 years, we have been working on standardizing the way how we transmit and stream that data to the digital pools. And right now we have standards in place how we can actually do that and how everybody in Magna can work on that. The second loop, once we have gathered the data, ideally in real time, is to analyze and visualize that. Most of the people have seen fancy dashboards. Most of the people have seen reports that come out of the data that has been collected with the machines. So that's really the second loop. But it's not Industry 4.0 until we close the loop, right? Until the machines, the algorithms automatically influence the physical world again. And I will make one specific example here, right? For example, imagine a CNC machine that we have in one of our divisions. And this CNC machine collects data on how it's operating. And then we combine that data with the dimensional quality data of the next machine that's down the line that tells us what's the outcome of that process. And then the algorithm automatically updates the program of the CNC machine to make sure that the parts are 100% quality. So I know that sounds a little scary because right now this final loop is basically a human interaction. Somebody from the quality team would go in there and make the updates. But for sure, if we want to get to the next level, this needs to be in an automated way, and this loop needs to be closed. So at the end, the the holy grail of Industry 4.0, if we have a completely connected manufacturing plant, it has also one specific characteristics, which is that the product that leaves the plant improves after it leaves the factory, right? Imagine if we think about a seating component, a complete car seat, right? That car seat is connected back to the factory. The factory knows when it's produced, what welding parameters has been used, what specific type of components have been used, and the software that has been put onto the seats. Seats nowadays have lots of software, right? They have a heating component, they have a ventilation components, sometimes they even have massages. So after the product leaves the company, based on the data we gather from all the product that's on the field, we feed it back into the factory, come up with a better software, and then we deploy that software into the seats. So even if the user is using the seat now, it's not the same seat that the person has purchased back then anymore, right? So that would be the full loop, and that's what basically Industry 4 Holy Grail is. So now let's jump into the next one. Now, what's the bridge now to Society 5.0, right? So the Japanese came up with this term about 6 years ago. So what they have found out is that the set of technologies that we're using in Industry 4.0, which is big data, advanced robotics, etc., is also going to impact the society itself, right? It's going to impact cities. So what's going to happen is that we as a society are going to evolve from an information society, which basically started at the end of the 20th century and which we are living in right now. We are going into this super smart society where part of the decisions and part of the information that we generate every day is going to go through algorithms and going to feed back into the society. So it's basically the human-centric approach. Every technology has to serve the humans. It's not that we serve technology, it's actually that technology serves us, right? We're going to interact and live with smart machines. The big thing is, of course, it's going to be transparent, ethical, and sustainable. We have augmented humans, and we're gonna have decentralized clusters of people that are going to interact and generate value. I know it has been a lot so far, right? A lot of terms, a lot of new stuff for most of you. So let's break it down a little bit how this shift is going to happen and where are we right now? What's our main focus right now as Society 4.0 or information society? And where is the focus going to be in the future? And we can already see it in the next generation, right? If I think about my little kids or my nieces, they come up with a different set of values when it comes to collaboration and those environmental awareness, and this is definitely going to help in the migration to Society 5.0. So when it comes to economies of scale, right now most of the focus of most of the companies is on efficiency, and in the future we actually going to focus, every employee is going to focus on problem solving and value creation, right? So this is going to be the main focus. Right now, of course, we have lots of uniformity. Everybody that has different thought process is slightly different in gets suppressed, right, or bullied. We're gonna move into a diverse society. Magna is doing big stuff there, is doing great stuff with everything being a leader in the diversity front. Where everything is concentrated right now, even if we look at cities, if we look at wealth, we're going to be able to decentralize most of that, right? Everybody is going to have the similar opportunities, and it's also going to be geographically distributed, right? If I think South America, if I think Africa, it's not the same opportunities. And then right now we have lots of vulnerability, right? Everybody's talking about VUCA. We have to gonna have the liberation from anxiety, and we're gonna build a very resilient society where people can actually focus on pursuing what they love to do, and we're gonna have less challenges in security. And the biggest and last point, which is really what drives a lot of my actions and my talks over the last months, has been the sustainability and environmentally impact, right? We know that we have had a huge impact, specifically with Industry 3.0, and now, of course, 4.0. and mass consumption of resources. So we need to get to a state where our society can be sustained, where the impact that we have on the planet is in balance with what naturally gets reproduced, right? So I think that's very clear when it comes to what 5 columns of society are going to migrate to what, and what's the big driver behind it. So now let's get to a tangible example before we go into what you can do for us. So this graph looks very complicated, but it's really not. If you look at the conventional knowledge production process in a society, right, we have physical space and the cyberspace or digital space. So you can look at physical phenomena that every day happen, and that generates data, right? Data is nothing different than something happened on a specific point of time. And right now humans are trying to decipher this and come up with meaningful renders and get to the information level out of data. And then again, people take that information and try to drive knowledge out of that, which then feeds back into the cities. So in the future, because of the vast amount of data that we are generating as a society, and that is required to really come up with very intelligent and knowledgeable feedback to the city, we're going to have advanced systems that are going to do that work for us, right? So if you think about cities and traffic, right, you know where people are in a bus station or on the train station, and the city then can automatically send additional buses, additional trains, or whatever kind of mobility we have to those areas to make sure that the people can move properly through the city. Something that right now has been done by people, right? And it's going to be in different areas of society very similar, right? When it comes to healthcare, etc., etc. So now to the biggest point, what can you do at the end of the day? What can you do? How can you help? How can you join the movement? It's really living the Magna's values, right? If you look now at Magna's value, which is think big, take responsibility, never settle, and be collaborative, it's very much in line with where we want to go as a society as well. So we have a big advantage here in Magna. We can work with the technology right now in our manufacturing plants, which then in the future are going to be used by our society. So right now we can learn how to develop and deploy them in a very human sense. And of course, everybody that is part of the technology teams right now in Magna and is working on implementing those smart technologies in the plants is going to be a crucial part of the new society that we are trying to build, where we are diverse and have a less impactful society, so we can save the planet. So it's really up to us. We really need everybody to join that movement.